Alrighty, what you guys just saw was me taking my first test cut with my new 4-axis roller guide system installed. I did it last weekend, and I did the whole video deal from assembling all the pieces of the roller guides and putting them on the sawmill and the problems I ran into. And at the time I didn't realize that I had done something wrong. I have this whole trunnion block on completely backwards. This water hose should be on this side of the block, not on this side of the block. And I had a lot of issues where I couldn't get enough down pressure on this roller. I couldn't get any, as a matter of fact. And you know, in the video I'm kind of cussing Norwood up one side and the other for making the piece wrong, and I made an adapter spacer up here to allow for this whole bracket to drop down so that I could get the down pressure I needed. Then while I was going into the editing of the video, while I'm editing it, I realized, well, number one, duh, you have this trunnion block on backwards. And number two, when I watched myself on video adjusting this, the pitch, I guess you'd call it, of the roller, it had been pretty far up and I had to crank it pretty far down. And then I realized that's probably why I couldn't get any down pressure. So, long story short, I may have cussed Norwood out in that video for no reason. So I'm going to take this back apart, flip this thing around, make sure this thing is, you know, level to some degree to begin with, and then see if I can get down pressure without having my spacer in here. Although my spacer's already in here and I'm not taking it out. So I guess what I'll do is see what kind of position I have if I would be able to get the down pressure I need even if this spacer wasn't in here, I guess. And then also there's a lot of movement in this bracket here. I'm going to take a closer look at that and see if I can rectify that somehow, see if it's something I did wrong also. So first I'm going to do this, and then I'll take a closer look at this and see what's going on with that. I doubt Norwood put out a product that wasn't made right to fit on the mill. So I'm going to go ahead and start dismantling this and we'll go from there. All right, I took this off and I flipped this bracket around the way it was supposed to be, and now I'm putting it back on. And in my original video I put the bolts in from the front, and it shows in the instructions they put them in from the back, although I don't think that makes any difference at all. But as long as I'm trying to do it right, I might as well do it like they do it in the instructions, I guess. A little too tight. All right, still move it up and down. Now I gotta push this forward and just let it rest on the blade. I want a 1/16 of an inch from the back of the blade to the shoulder on this roller guide. I've got that there, I think. It's got so much slop on it, it's kind of hard to tell, but there's that. Now I'm going to check to see if I have my down pressure plus some more adjustment, because I have this spacer in here. So just for fun, there's my down pressure, because I've come down and touched my level, which is 3/16 below the blade. Kick my level out of the way, and it only dropped like a 1/16 of an inch, which means you are required to put a spacer in here to make this work with this trunnion block. This trunnion block is too short. I was thinking, after I edited that video from last week, all week long, I was thinking that I made a mistake here. No, hold on, I'm making the same mistake again. I did not level this roller. This roller has to be leveled in order for this to work. Oh yeah, that's got to come way down. Right about there is pretty level. Okay, that's close enough for what I'm doing, I think. Alright, if I hold back on that like that, now I'll come in here, get my down pressure on my level, and then, yeah, maybe 1/8 of an inch is what I got. So once I got to my 3/16 of down pressure, by bringing the blade down to touch the level, then I pull down until it bottoms out, and it only moved maybe 1/8 of an inch. I don't think it was quite that far. So if I did not have this 1/4 inch spacer that I made last week and put it in here, I would not been able to achieve the 3/16 of down pressure that they call for. So there is some kind of issue here that I think they need to address. But the good news is I got a spacer in there already, so I can make this work. So there's my down pressure. I got to hold that, get a wrench on here. Just hold my blade tight to my level, and that's going to automatically set my 3/16. All right. Oh, I got my finger pinched in there. All right. It's a little tight, but I think that's good. Now I need to set my blade level once and for all. Make sure that's where it needs to be. Make sure I'm not sitting on an uptooth here. Let's see. Yeah, right there. Okay. I need a little adjustment there. All right, it says I got to cant down like this now. Loosen the back, tighten up the front. That looks good. I'll just tighten this up to get a little, make sure that's nice and snug. Well, it moved it a little bit. I gotta loosen that back up, tighten this more. Now tighten the back one. That looks perfect right there. Now I got to recheck my down pressure because I'm wondering if that changes it. It sure does. Now it's real tight. Yep, so I got to readjust that now. So there's something that's not in the instructions. You got to make sure this is level before you do your final down pressure adjustment, or you're going to have too much down pressure. Oh my goodness, that's tight. All right. So now we'll check that again. Let's see. There's your down pressure. Slide out your level. Drop down maybe 1/8 of an inch. Maybe. I don't think it's quite there. All right, so now I'm touching the level. I'm holding this bracket just kind of visually straight because there's a lot of slop in those holes. Okay, that's good. think I need to slide that roller back just a little bit, I think. There's a little bit of movement in that, so I don't want to. Oop, too much. Okay. Tighten that back down. Set screw. Okay, I'm going to roll that. Well, not touching. Try it again. It's a little bit finicky. Try it there. Roll it. All right, here we go. What else? I'll double check my level here. Make sure I'm not on obtuse. Oh, what do you know? We're out of level again. How is that possible? Oh, I know why. Because there's a lot of movement in this bracket. That's disappointing. Let's see, I need to go like this. So I gotta loosen the back. That looks good. So that's good. Front to back is good. The back of my blade has about a 1/16 before the shoulder. And my down pressure is still good. It's a little snug, but that was 3/16, and you know, I think it's probably 3/16 to a quarter. Tight at 3/16 is probably good. Got my water spout on the right side. All right, one more thing, I forgot to flip my ceramic around. I had it facing the other way to keep it out of the way. And you want about a 1/16 of an inch, which is about what that is, so that's good to go. Okay, now that side's done, we're going to take a look at the next side. I don't know if you guys can see that on camera or not, but that bracket, where this bracket makes a 90-degree corner right here, it's not even welded together. There's a gap there, and it's loose. I can wiggle that with my bare hand, back and forth. So that's where I'm getting a lot of movement on this drive side of the mill. This is the drive side bracket, and there's a lot of movement in here. I don't understand why they made it that way. I guess there was a reason. It seems like they could have something coming up here and bolting into this main beam here on the mill head, just like the old bracket for the ceramics did, but for some reason they didn't. And number one, it's pretty thin metal, and number two, that joint's not even welded, so very little effort at all. I can wiggle that back and forth. And that's also going to induce some of this too. So I'm not real happy about that, but I'll go ahead and adjust it and get it as good as I can, and I guess we'll see what happens. All right, I'm on the drive side of the mill now, looking at the trunnion block and the bracket over there. What I want to point out is there's a lot of slop. There's front to back movement in this thing. Not the bracket. The fact is the slots are oversized. So you can't just come in here and pull down on this in the back and get your down pressure and tighten the bolts, because it doesn't slide up and down in a precision way. If you pull down, it also rocks backwards. So you have to come out here and pull down on the roller and try to pull straight down and kind of guess where that block is straight before you tighten it down. So just so you know, something to be aware of, this thing slops front to back, and you need to put the pressure on out here and tighten the bolts down once you gauge where that block is sitting true. All right, let's see if we can get this side set. Get my ratchet on here. Okay, I'm going to kind of guess what's what's true there on that block. See how it's rocking back and forth. I'm just going to hold it where I think it's true. And now I'm going to pull down with my right hand till I got my blade resting on my level. That should set my down pressure just right. Of course, my ratchet came off. Tighten up that first bolt. Okay, I got my down pressure. And now I will tighten the top bolt. Look how much that bracket moves when I try to tighten a bolt. I can't even tighten a bolt without torquing the entire thing. So I'll hold some back pressure on here with my hand. Get those bolts good and tight. Okay, I got my down pressure. I'm a little looser over here, but I still got to set the tilt of my blade. I got to double check that. Let me grab my level, see what we got here. Let me see where a good spot is. You don't want to be on an obtuse when you do this. All right. Where is my bowl? Way in the back. So I got to bring the front of the blade up. That's not a good sign. That's going to take me the wrong direction. Let's loosen this. Tighten the back. Can you tell me when it's level?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's almost there. It's like it just goes back to the same spot every time.
Yeah.
No matter how much you do it.
Yeah, it might just be as good as it's going to get.
Yeah.
Let me stick my head in your way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what it needs. I'll try to loosen this a little more, see if we can get it. There's so much flex in this bracket that as you're trying to make these adjustments, you know, the bracket's not, it's not strong enough to hold it in the proper position.
There you go.
That move it?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Okay, that's perfect. I like perfect. Oh, that's pretty perfect. Let me tighten this front one a little bit. Could go back just a hair. Let me check that. That didn't move. Okay. Even though there is play in the bracket, if you fiddle with it enough, you can get the blade level. My biggest disappointment with this so far is the fact that this bracket is too weak. There's way too much movement in that bracket. Maybe they made it that way intentionally so people can't put too much pressure on their blade. I don't know. I'd like to think that there's some good reason for it like that. Who knows? Now, I've got to check my front to back. That needs to come out just a little bit. It's a little too much. So I got to undo this bolt. Touching the blade, pull it back a 1/16. And then tighten up the bolt. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to spin the blade. Make sure it still looks good. And it does. And it does, basically. This one's kind of the same thing. You know, you set that, but you can wiggle this bracket back and forth. And I'm sure as you slide that in and out when you're making your cuts, it's going to change a little bit. But I think it's about right. So we'll go with that. Next thing I got to do is verify. Oh, look at this, guys. I lost all my down pressure. All right. I was afraid of that. I had too much tilt on that. So I set my down pressure, then I adjusted my tilt, and it took all my down pressure away. One more time. Oh, it's out of level again. Imagine that. Because these slots are oversized back here, every time you loosen them to make an adjustment, the whole block moves, and then you got to readjust your tilt. Let's see. Now the back's got to go up. Now I got to readjust the shaft because that's off now too. This side, the drive side's got to drop down, or the operator side's got to come up. Last week when I first put these on, I lowered that side just a little bit. So this week I'm going to raise this side a little bit. It's only like a 32nd or so off, so it's not much. So I'm adjusting the yokes on the cables. What I'm doing is to raise the whole mill head on this side. Yep, we're good. We've got 2 7/16 and 2 7/16 from the bunk to the bottom of the blade. So that should be all properly aligned. All right, guys, this is the next day. I'm cutting about a 14-foot red oak logs, about 13 inches in diameter on the small end, about 17 on the big end. I squared it up into a cant, and then my daughter Katie finished peeling boards off of it for me. The mill cut good, nice and flat for the most part. Couple minor dips or some big knots. I think it's probably related to the movement in those brackets, especially the drive side bracket. It just has way too much movement in it. But definitely cutting better than it used to, so I'm pretty happy with it right now. I'm going to do some more testing with it. I got a pretty good pile of logs here to cut, and we'll cut them up, and then we'll come back and tell you what we think about it. So thanks for watching. I appreciate it, and if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them down in the comments. Thanks.